I have PTSD after surviving a brain tumor. Running helps me cope. About 10 years ago this month, Kelly Everowski started hearing a weird ringing in her left ear. It wouldn't go away, the 36-year-old tells WOMENSHEALTHMAG.com. But her doctor shrugged the symptom off. It was probably earwax or maybe an ear infection. She had her ears cleaned out and took a course of antibiotics. Neither helped. I knew something wasn't right, just knew it, she says. So in early November, she made another appointment, this time with an ear, nose, and throat specialist, who performed a hearing test. Turns out, Kelly was suffering from slight hearing loss in her left ear. It was concerning enough that docs ordered an MRI. Heal your whole body with Rodale's 12-day power plan for better health. The diagnosis: that's when she got the news. A large mass in her left ear canal was pressing up against the stem of her brain. It was a rare brain tumor called an acoustic neuroma that could have been growing, unbeknownst to her, for 10 years. It was completely random. When the doctor showed her the MRI film, she nearly passed out. I was 26, newly married, and working as a teacher, says Kelly. Everything was going right. It was just the biggest shock of my life. After all, besides the ear ringing, she was symptom-free. Today, Kelly refers to the sound as ringing from the angels. It was a sign, she says. Fortunately, the tumor was benign, which meant she wouldn't need chemotherapy or radiation. Problem was, it was ingrained in surrounding nerves affecting her sight, hearing, facial muscles, and balance. She would need brain surgery. The waiting right away, Kelly and her family started looking for a neurosurgeon. Anxiety set in, too. Kelly was not only told that she'd lose her hearing, but that one slight slip-up during surgery could lead to face paralysis, something she was incredibly worried about. After landing on Stony Brook Hospital's Raphael Davis, MD, Kelly had to wait. Because her tumor was so slow-growing, surgery was scheduled 3 weeks out. Every day she went into work and the news loomed over her. It was the worst, darkest time, she says. It was fear of the unknown. I made the mistake of going online and finding every bad story. I convinced myself that all of these terrible things were going to happen to me. Doctors prescribed her Xanax, but she couldn't stop herself from thinking, I'm never going to have a family, I'm never going to hear again, my face might be ruined. The surgery with the support of family, I couldn't have done any of this without my mother, says Kelly. She saved me. She made it to surgery day, March 7, 2007. The procedure lasted 13 hours and was a success. Davis removed most of the tumor, though Kelly lost 100% of her hearing in her left ear, as expected. But in order to preserve her facial nerve, a small sliver of the tumor resting on that nerve was left behind. It was too risky to take it out, says Kelly. Because the tumor was benign and the surgery cut enough blood supply to it, Davis was hopeful the sliver would shrivel up and die. That's when fear really crept in. There was a chance that it could grow back, says Kelly. The anxiety. Kelly went on to have 2 children. Ode, her son is 7 and her daughter is 4. But though her tumor was mostly gone, she wasn't problem-free. For one, she still heard the ringing in her ear. I hear ringing every day, all day long, she says. When I get stressed out, it gets as loud as a typewriter banging in your head. Even worse? She was diagnosed with PTSD from the experience and struggled with severe anxiety. Some of this stemmed from the idea that part of her tumor was still in there. At first, she needed an MRI every 6 months. Every time I would go in, they would say it didn't grow or that it shrunk, but I was always afraid, says Kelly. Thoughts consumed her. I was suffering from anxiety so badly that my body would twitch, says Kelly. I was always waiting for the next shoe to drop. Xanax did little. And she saw few results from meditation. There was one point where I stopped sleeping, she says. I was up all night twitching and trembling and shaking. I couldn't even take my kids to the doctor. I was paralyzed with fear. How running has helped her cope. Then Kelly came across an online article about the mental benefits of running. I hated running, she says, remembering that during the mile run in high school, she would walk. But, she says, I was desperate. I called my mother and I said, I'm going to become a runner. So she dropped the Xanax and did. Little by little, she started jogging with friends. It was amazing how fast I started to feel better, says Kelly. Running made my mind and my body stronger. You have to keep pushing even though you don't want to sometimes. She completed a 5K, a few half marathons, then a full. I have always been a determined person, says Kelly. I wanted to see how far I could take it. On November 6, Kelly will test herself again. She's running this year's TCS New York City Marathon for the Brain Tumor Foundation. It was always a dream of mine to do the marathon and raise money for brain tumor research, she says. I always want to help people. Training as a working mom hasn't been easy, though. We've had runs as early as 4:15 a.m. in the humid heat of the summer, sometimes 19 or 20 miles, says Kelly. But the payoff is big. I really felt like I went from the lowest of the lows to the highest of the highs, and it was all because of running. It changed my life, she says. As for that sliver of the tumor, Kelly will go in for MRIs every 2 years for the rest of her life, but her last one revealed good news. Nothing has changed for 10 years. Doctors say that all that's left is a dead piece of tissue.